Hello, Internet denizens. Welcome once again to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be covering Hackintoshing, and specifically why I don't think Apple will be killing off Hackintoshing anytime soon. Okay, so here's my pitch that Hackintoshing actually is not hurting Mac sales. In fact, it's helping Apple maintain the Mac OS ecosystem. And without Hackintoshing, there would be far fewer Mac OS computers out there in the world buying far fewer software. So here's why I don't think it's really hurting hardware sales. I think, number one, there are three groups in the Hackintosh community. One of them is going to be a surprise to you. The first group are made up of people who will never buy a Mac ever. And they're hackers and users and dual booters and people who want to game even on a Hackintosh. And some of them are just tinkering and some of them are actually doing real work. But this first group will never buy a Hackintosh and never had any intention of buying one. Then there's the second group who are disaffected Mac users, moi, who are disappointed that Apple is not making a computer that fits their needs. Now, we are, for the most part, Apple consumers. I mean, we still consume Apple products. I mean, I've got a Apple Watch. I have an Apple phone. I'm not going to stop using or buying these things, although probably won't buy the iPhone 10. I don't need the iPhone 10 in terms of an innovative product. What I would really like is if Apple would fix its stupid notification system, because quite frankly, Android has a far better notification service. So just I'd like to, keep my iPhone 6 and fix the notification service. Okay, I'm done. With the disaffected group, we're actually purchasing Apple products. We're buying software legitimately. We are part of their services. We are buying hard drive space online. And I'll show you some graphs that will probably startle you just in terms of where Apple's business is going. And while they are still selling billions of dollars worth of Hackintoshes, we know it's not the core of their business. Hasn't been the core for a very long time. It's been the iPhone. So the third group, which is a real surprise, because I've talked with these people, are Eastern European or former Eastern European countries and South Asian computer businesses that have to do business with North American concerns. And they're not allowed by contract to pirate Windows OS. But for whatever reason, it's okay for them to, put the Mac OS on their computers, and sometimes, dozens and maybe even hundreds of computers. And plus, the Mac OS is a great desktop OS, and they are connecting to Linux, which the Mac OS does really well. And they buy software. So they're hacking together, cheap PC parts, because that's what they do in Russia and Eastern Europe. But they're applying the Apple OS, the Mac OS on it, because I guess they think it's quasi-legal. It's not. It's completely illegal, but it's, I guess, sort of less illegal than pirating Windows software, which actually costs cash. It's a weird argument. Neither of them really hold water. But, it's funny talking with the heads of these companies, and I've talked with a few of them, a couple in Czechoslovakia, that they find that the Mac OS is an unbelievably stable operating system, and that's why they're using it. So, in a weird way, without the Hackintosh ecosystem, the Mac OS ecosystem worldwide would be much smaller. So, take a look at this chart here. This comes from Apple's financials from 2017 first quarter. You can see that most of their money is being made by the iPhone. So that's 70% of their revenue comes from the iPhone. iPad makes up 7%. The Mac makes up 9%. Then we've got this this product called Other, which is my favorite Apple product. That's at 5%. I love Other. It is so great to work with. And then take a look at this. The green part there is services, 9%. This part there of the chart is growing enormously. So Apple is making as much money from services right now as they are from the Mac. And my understanding from the most recent financials that services have completely overtaken the Mac sales. Now, that being said, this entire pie is growing. So Apple is still making billions of dollars off the Mac, but as you can see, it's a lesser and less important part of their financial mix. So let's take a look at what percentage of portables versus desktop Macs are in the Mac mix. As you can see right there, that the portables take up 74% of that 9%, and 26% take up desktop Hackintoshes, and that's just shrinking. And the percentage of Mac Pros as a portion of the 26%, I have no idea, but it's probably minuscule, which is probably why Apple took so long to decide whether to kill the Mac Pro or not, the Trashintosh, because they were not selling enough to justify it. And that's another thing. Part of the problem with Apple is that they've become, too big to be a fun company. They can't be fun anymore because every single product that they make has got to be a home run. They can't have stupid, tiny, fun things anymore. It's not worth their while. It doesn't give them shareholder value, which is a real drag. Getting back to my original point, why won't Apple actively go after Hackintoshers? Because they don't care. I mean, we're a tiny, small bump, a pimple on the ass of a gnat for Apple. Plus, we have our own problems. It's not really easy to be Hackintoshing. It has its own issues. I honestly think those of us in the professional community who are using the macOS are Hackintoshing because it's necessarily cheaper. That's really not the reason. It's because Apple does not build the product that is suitable for our needs. And speaking of suitable for our needs, I mean, we're coming up to the release of the iMac Pro. That thing is starting at $5,000 for the 8-core. And then who knows what the 10-core is going to be. And the 18-core, well, that thing is probably going to cost the same as a small nuclear submarine. So now we've got the i7 5K 27-inch that starts at $2,300, and then the iMac Pro that starts at $5,000. So that's a gigantic gulf to fill. Is Apple going to fill that? No. Is the Mac Pro going to fill that? Well, maybe, but they're not going to release that for at least another 8-10 months because they're not going to bring out the Mac Pro so soon on top of releasing the iMac Pro. So anyways, there you go. Everything is fine in Hackintosh land. Go forward, multiply, enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much for listening. There you go. You know what? I feel like building another Hackintosh. Till later, internet denizens.